You're looking for a Guardian build that does crazy amounts of damage, is not hard to play, and is really good in all instance content, then don't look any further. This build is for you. This is a simplified low intensity version of my already released 45k DPS conditioned Willbender build. So be sure to check out the full-fledged DPS version without any simplification if you want to go to highest numbers. Link is in the description below. Or you want to stick with this build and have a low intensity version that still does crazy amounts of damage and is really easy to play. Be sure to watch the whole video to not miss out a thing about this amazing build. Special shout out as always to all my generous supporters on YouTube, Twitch and Patreon that help me keep the lights on. And now without much further ado, let's jump straight in. Credits for the build and the rotation to Snowcrows. Be sure to check out their written guide. Link is in the description below. I just want to promote this amazing build and explain every single detail to you. So let's start with the gear. So for gear, it's really straightforward. You go for full Viper gear with Superior Rune of the Balthasar, and you want to go with Malign Infusion, so condition damage infusions. If you can't afford them, that's not a big deal. You don't need them, of course. So if you don't have Ascended gear, there is a slight alteration that you need to do, but link to the exotic version is in the description below. This is for the Ascended version. So for the armor, you go for full Viper. For the trinkets, you go for full Sinister, which is condition damage main stat, power and precision damage secondary stats. However, one ring should be Viper as well. Like I said, the exotic version is in the description below, because if you go for full exotic, you have to change some gear up to get the full 100% burning duration. For weapons, you only want to go pistol. There is no offense, so that's why the build is quite easy, because you don't have to swap weapons ever. So you go for Sigil of Torment and Sigil of Bursting, and of course Viper again. For your relic, you want to go with Relic of the Fractal. It's just the best damage relic that you can get. If you can't get that, then you will lose quite a lot of damage and you can just go for any defensive relic or whatever relic you want to go for. Nothing really is beating that in any scenario, so Relic of the Fractal is always the best. Now let's talk about utility and food. So for utility consumables, you would always go with Toxic Unic Crystals. It's the best option by far. So use that for condition damage, just really nice. For food, I would go with Cilantro and Cured Meat Flatbreads just for some lifesteal and some more condition damage and expertise to actually reach the number in full burning duration. If you can't get the Ascended food, you would go with Koi Cakes, I would say. Yes, the stats are swapped and you lose the lifesteal, but they are so cheap, it's definitely worth going for that. And you will still cap out on the burning, that's the important part. Before I go to the trades, I want to mention if you want to see more content like this, don't forget to subscribe, and if you like this video, be sure to leave a like, that helps out my channel a bunch. But now, let's talk about the trades. So for the trades, you want to go Radiance, Virtuous and Willbender. In Radiance, you just get some nice passive bonuses. Whenever you kill a foe, you get the recharge of your skill 1, that's quite nice. F skill 1, of course. And then you get some damage against burning foes, that's quite good. You're after all running Viper gear, so you actually did some power damage as well. Then you get more precision and more power. Okay, quite nice. You get, that's one quite important, you get more burning duration. That's really good, because the more burning duration helps you, of course, to get more damage out, and you don't need to get more expertise. It's really nice. And then Amplified Wrath, this one is really, really strong, because that means that burning deals 10% more damage, but also the burning duration of your skill 1, F skill 1, is really, really long now, 20% increase. That's really potent, because that's one of your main damaging skills, is this passive effect of Justice. It's really, really important that you have this trait. And you have Virtues. Virtues is obviously really good on a Willbender. You get some passive boons when you use your Virtues. You get some Resolution, okay, not that great. And then you gain condition damage based on your Vitality. That's why this build is especially good if you have the Jadebot Core tier 10, because you get more condition damage that way. And your Virtues get reduced recharge, really good. Then your concentrations last longer. That's really good, because one of your most important skills is a concentration, so it lasts longer. Then you deal more damage, quite good. And then passive effect of skill Virtue triggers more quickly and now burns in an area. Together with this one, it's really, really potent. That means that you now get more damage out of your passive of the skill 1, and it's AoE, so it's really good in fractals and some kind of cleave scenarios and raids and strike missions. It's really, really strong. So if you have multiple targets, you actually amplify your damage quite a bit, because you actually trigger your passive and it burns AoE, and that burns AoE again the other thing. So it's really like crazy how much damage you get from this trait. And then of course you have Willbender. Willbender gives you access to your Virtues that are like all movement skills now. All of them are quite potent. The most important one, of course, the Rushing Justice. You get some swiftness and movement speed increase, and you get some passive stacks while you actually use your Virtue. So that's really good. And that is also important, because Tyrant's momentum is increasing that, so you get more damage increase just by using your Virtues. So always use them, of course. We will get to the rotation in a second. And then of course you take the Searing Pact for more condition damage, and your Willbender Flames now give burning. Makes sense, your Condi build after all. And then you Restorative Virtues. This trait is amazing. That means just when you trigger a virtue effect, you will actively reduce all the weapon abilities cooldowns. It's really, really strong. The cooldown is only reduced by a quarter of a second, but you trigger it quite often, and that means that you just spam your attacks very, very easily because they all recharge the cooldowns of each other. So it's really strong, and you get some nice vigor when you use Flowing Resolve. That's quite good, but typically that's not that important. Now let's talk quickly about the skills. So I already mentioned this one is really strong for burning. This one can be a nice evade and a heal after you hit enemies with it, and that can be a nice stability and Aegis if you wanted to. But typically the most important one for the damage is of course the F1. Then the auto attack is quite nice for damage, the 2 skill is quite nice for damage, all of them are ranged like of course, because they're pistols. Symbol of Ignition is really strong, it's a symbol, and when you stand in it and deal some damage with any weapon skill or any skill actually, you apply burning as well. It's really, really potent, so always try to align all your multi-hit skills while you use the Symbol of Ignition. And then you have Hail of Justice, just some nice piercing damage and bleeding if. And then you have some heavy CC here with the 5 skill and also some nice damage. For a healing skill, I would always go with Litany of Wrath for just some damage conversion into healing. Really strong, use that when you need a lot of heal. Then you have of course Purging Flames, most important skill in this build I would say, because it's really, really long lasting field that does a lot of burning and also removes some conditions as a fire field, so you can use your Whirling Light in it for example, or even the Hail of Justice to get some more burning procs out of it. Whirling Light, of course, short cooldown, nice damage skill, also does some nice power damage. And then you have passive Signet of Wrath for more condition damage. I would not use that actively, just get the condition damage passively. And then you have Heaven's Palm for some CC if you need that, and also some Evade and Shadow Step. If you need Invulnerability, you would swap to Renewed Focus, and if you need some super speed or some more quickness uptime, you would go for Filma Wrath, but that's the most like general setup. I would go for some CC if some bosses need that. That's Heaven's Palm what you need. If you want to swap some stuff out, you could swap Signet of Wrath, for example for Bane Signet. For the active, if you need a lot of frequency C, because it's some nice breakbar damage, only on a 20-second cooldown, that can be helpful. And if you need infrequency C that is more potent than the Bane Signet, I would go with Sanctuary, because it pulses and it takes a little bit longer to actually apply all the CC, but it is really, really potent because of the longer duration of it, and every single thing is really nasty CC and can be really helpful to get, for example, heavy break bars down. But typically for damage, that would be the way to go. The key concept of the rotation is quite straightforward. You spam all your weapon skills and always try to align them, of course, with your Rushing Justice and, of course, the Symbol of Ignition to get multi-hit skills while you have the symbol down to get a lot of damage. But of course, you would always use your Peacekeeper, Symbol of Ignition, and Jurisdiction of cooldown. That would be the main thing. So the first step in learning this rotation would be using the Rushing Justice, so you have F1 of cooldown, as well as Purging Flames and Whirling Light. Those skills are the most important ones, and then you would just fill the gaps with auto attacks. That's the thing. But if you want to go one step further, you would go with using the Symbol of Ignition and Peacekeeper, as well as Jurisdiction, and use auto attacks when you have nothing else to do. Be aware, your cooldowns are very fast coming up, so oftentimes you get another cooldown up after you use something else. You don't even have to go for auto attacks most of the time. So it's really, really strong. If you have skills coming up at the same time, typically I would prioritizing, for example, Symbol of Ignition over Peacekeeper, so that you actually get the procs of the symbol. For the opener, you would start with Rushing Justice into Purging Flames, into Symbol of Ignition, and into Peacekeeper. Then you use Whirling Light and use Jurisdiction, and after that you just follow, so to say, your priority of using Rushing Justice over Purging Flames over Whirling Light, and Symbol of Ignition into Peacekeeper and Jurisdiction. That's the whole thing. So you would always try to use your heavy hitting skills. Of course, if you have Symbol of Ignition up, use that to actually amplify your multi-hit skills. But in general, just use the opener, and after that you spam your attacks. That's how this build works. Very low intensity, has high APM, but you see all your cooldowns. You don't have to do a lot. Just use all your cooldowns of cooldown and you will be fine. This is the build. It's really strong, really fun to play. Works in almost all instance content. I can highly recommend it. I hope you like it. If you do, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks again to Snowcrows. Thanks again to all my supporters as well. And I hope to see you all in the next video.